How has hearing aid battery technology evolved from when it was first invented?
By leaps and bounds. I mean, there's some key things that when we talk about how much stuff can you fit into that small space, right? These are really, the small batteries. We managed to get more material, more usable material into the battery by having done some very clever things about thinning components, using intricate manufacturing processes that give us, the maximum amount of internal volume in that very rigidly controlled space, right? We can't make the batteries bigger because then they wouldn't fit in the aid. So we've got to make them to the exact size specifications, but finding ways to put more stuff inside them has been, the key over the years.
Well, in 1979, I believe, we started developing zinc air batteries. During that time, the prevalent battery for the hearing aid market was a mercuric oxide battery. The zinc air battery, what it offered was twice the life and a lot more environmentally friendly battery for the marketplace. Since that time, we've developed, I think we're on our 10th generation of zinc air batteries. The original battery had about half the life that we have today. So today's battery lasts twice as long, and it has a lot more features and capabilities than the earliest designs.
What is zinc air technology?
We use zinc and air from the atmosphere to make it work. And what that does is the zinc is on the inside of the battery, but we use oxygen from the outside. And that allows us to put more zinc inside in the battery, and it allows us to have much longer life than standard batteries such as a watch battery or other type of technologies.
How is Rayovac's performance superior to its competition?
Well, currently today we have the zero mercury technology. In that technology, we last about 20% longer than Duracell and Energizer. And that really translates into more days of life. If you look at the typical hearing aid user that might have 7 to 10 days of life, with Rayovac, you'll get 9 to 13 days of life in comparison to the other competitors.
How did you take the mercury out of the battery?
Mercury, as bad as you might think it is for the environment or the world, it did some useful things in the battery. It prevented leakage chiefly, and it helped performance. So when we looked to be able to come up with a formulation that eliminated it, we knew we couldn't suffer any losses. People got used to, you want the battery to perform equally, and that was our benchmark. We had to deliver the same amount of performance in the battery with the elimination of mercury. So we came up with a number of formulation and additives that could replace its function, so you got the same level of performance, but that you do without the mercury.
So what we had to do is we had to come up with a formulation where we take out the mercury, but we're able to keep the features that the mercury allows into the system. The reduction of gassing is the key component. So what we did is used organic additives that suppressed the gassing and kept the product from having problems such as leakage and swelling with that component.
How does the mercury-free product compare to that of the standard product?
It is identical in all aspects. It has equivalent voltage, equivalent capacity, very good leakage resistance, and resistance to corrosion.
So now what we have is something that's nearly equivalent. You can't tell the difference. Some people notice that it's even almost say it's superior to what we've had before. That you give the same amount of life and the same voltage as our previous versions.
How has the plant handled the change to mercury-free?
The change to zero mercury has been fairly complex. It's required us to put in an entirely new cathode process, which you hear referred to as AVA cathode, which has raised the voltage of the battery to, market-leading levels. We've also taken the opportunity to redesign much of the plant for better process flow, because we had to make new process areas for handling the zero mercury zinc as well as zero mercury electrolyte.
How does Rayovac meet the global demands for hearing aid batteries?
Well, at the Portage plant, we make the total volume of North American and South American hearing aid batteries, as well as a portion of the European market's batteries. So we produce all of the 13s, 312s, and 10As for North and South America, and we produce the worldwide volume of 10As. Our sister plant in England produces the 675s for the entire world, including those that we import for the domestic market here.
How has the down economy affected plant production?
Well, actually, we've been fortunate in that regard. We've seen the zinc air business continue to be very strong in terms of volume in our plant. But we have actually been able to take advantage of the economy in terms of finding good people for filling some of the key positions within our plant in terms of electrical engineering positions, mechanical engineering. So we've had employment opportunities that in a stronger economy you might not actually have.
What are the benefits of locally made products?
Well, we've been producing batteries in Portage since 1962. We're a good partner to the community. We're involved with events and charities within the community. And we've been providing good and growing number of jobs that entire time. We also try to use local sources of supply when we can. Local within the community in Wisconsin when we can, but also just generally domestic within the United States. About 3/4 of our product value is actually from domestically sourced materials.
How fresh are the batteries audiologists receive?
Having local manufacturing capability, we are able to provide some of the freshest product in the market. The majority of our ProLine product is shipped within 24 hours of taking the order.
What technological improvements has the plant made in regards to the development of hearing aid batteries?
Not only do we manufacture the batteries, but because of our proximity to the technology center, we actually can participate in the design of the next generation of the zinc air battery. And so we're able to take into account improving our manufacturing efficiencies right up front in the design of the next generation of the product.
What do you recommend if someone thinks that their new battery is dead?
People sometimes will use a battery tester to determine if the battery is dead. What we find is the battery testers are very unreliable. They tend to have a go, no-go gauge. They're cheaply made, and what happens is the consumer gets convinced that the battery is no good. When we receive the batteries, we find generally that there is no problem with the batteries. The key is try the battery in the aid to make sure it's not working. And the other thing is air up. One of the things that we find is if you untab the battery, allow it to sit for a minute or two before you actually put it in the aid, and that eliminates the majority of the problems that we find.
Why do you have to let batteries air up?
We recognize that one of the issues about dealing with a hearing aid battery is because it's we put a lot of energy into a small package, but it's a small package, and there's some difficulties about handling, and maybe we should understand that a little bit better, and also in the context of we've got a battery that breathes. First and foremost, yes, it's I know it's difficult to remove that tab off there. It's requires some dexterity. It's a small thing to deal with. It's there because this high energy density that requires air means, okay, I've got to keep the battery sealed. When it's in the package, we don't want it to dry out. So there's some liquids inside the battery that if we didn't keep it sealed, the battery would dry out and die. But that, again, that's the, if we'll consider it a downside from that high energy density where I'm able to use oxygen from the atmosphere, but at the same time, yep, I've got to breathe, so I've got to have a battery that's open, and yet I have to, when I have it on shelf, the only way it can stay fresh is that we keep it closed, keep it sealed. So that means, okay, the battery's been, sorry, this is my battery and my little tab here sitting on it. Those things, we've kept it sealed. Well, it's kind of like the battery has to catch its breath. So there's that piece about you peel off that seal, and now you've exposed the air hole, so now it has access to the to the air, but it almost has to refresh itself for a minute. Before the battery can go into the device and start working, we have to get enough air in there, and it just kind of it works its way through those air holes. Waiting a minute is the right thing to do to let the battery recover. So it's just been it's been closed up in the package. We peel it open, let it breathe, and then put it into the device. That way it has the full access to the oxygen that it needs in order to run the device.
Where is Rayovac ranked in the global hearing aid battery market?
Rayovac is the largest manufacturer of hearing aid batteries in the world. And really we dominate in every area. If I think back to where the battery business was, the hearing aid battery business was when I started with the company about 14 years ago, both the Portage and Washington plants are more than twice the size they were than 14 years ago. So it's a business that's important to us. It's a business we do well in, and we dominate and we like it that way.
How has Rayovac become a market leader?
It's important to us for starters. It's not a significant part of some of our main competitors' business. It's a very significant part of our business. So we treat it accordingly. We give it a disproportionate amount of our capital allocation every year. We spend more in R&D area than any other competitor would spend in primary hearing aid batteries. And that filters into our plants as well. So our plants are staffed with very large supportive engineering and quality control departments. The level of detail we put into manufacture is essential. We're building products that have tolerances that of a human hair. And so if you want to be good at that, you have to treat it seriously, and we do.
From a technology standpoint, what has Rayovac done that has made it a market leader?
First and foremost, and as simple as it is, we listen to our customers. Now, our customers in this case, for a hearing aid battery, is the hearing aid itself and the hearing aid users. So our conversations with our OEM partners are very specific about what's going on in the hearing aid. What does it need? What's the load on the battery? How does the battery need to deliver its power? And where can we make improvements?
I think it's the commitment. If you look at our battery technology, we've had commitment towards this technology over the years that other companies don't have. It's much more important to our company than it is to the big companies.
What makes Rayovac's batteries better than its competition?
Besides the product performance, I think it's the reliability, and there's really three areas that we focus on in the plant. We think we're very good at quality control, change control, and waste reduction or efficient operations.
Where do you see this market going in the future?
I was looking at a chart the other day. I talk about where the plants have come since I've been with the company, and that is doubling over 14 years. And that sounds like a lot, but the biggest growth isn't behind us. The biggest growth is ahead of us. I was looking at a chart that showed there's about 40 million Americans that are over the age of 65. In the next 15 years, that'll grow to 70 million Americans over the age of 65. So we plan on being here to support the hearing aid needs.